Hey guys, welcome back to the Full Co. It's the day after the Wolves versus Tottenham Hotspur Premier League game, and sadly yet another defeat for this rather woeful looking Tottenham Hotspur team at the minute. Going to dive in, just do a quick one, look at some of the main themes that were coming out of it. I made the mistake of listening to some, various social media and bits and pieces about the game, and I wasn't necessarily going to do a video about this one. Having also missed the last one, I didn't do a post-Frankfurt game because I was away in Germany, so travelling in the wrong direction, and wasn't able to do a video after the game. But some of the stuff I've seen, I think just needs addressing, and just kind of looking at it in a bit more, with a bit more of a coach's tactical kind of eye than maybe some people have been, because I just think that even though the feeling about the result is right, and it was a poor performance, and really poor on an individual and collective basis, there's a few things that have been a little bit misunderstood about that game. So if we look at it, the starting lineup, I think most people didn't really mind that there were going to be lots and lots of changes, and there were 6 changes to the team that played in midweek, and you'd argue there was quite a few changes to the team that is very likely to then play against Frankfurt in the second leg. And most of us would have been quite happy with that. We'd have been okay with that. And we also would have been okay with the fact that it's going to be a little bit disjointed, and it's not going to have the rhythm, it's not going to have the tempo, it's not going to have the fluidity that you would have playing arguably your strongest team. But what then transpired was a collection of errors throughout the course of the game. It was more than just being disjointed. And the issue that we've got is that some of the mistakes that were being made by key players who are going to play on Thursday, and some of them are recurring. So these are repeat offenders. So those things are very problematic from the point of view of us trying to go through in midweek and trying to go on a cup run. But we started the game in exactly the way that we've started far too many games this season, in that we were on edge, we were nervy, and sadly it was our goalkeeper, Vicario, who set the tempo in the worst possible way, in a way that you wouldn't want when you're going away to a team that you traditionally struggle at their ground, don't play particularly well when we get there. They have players and a system that seems to really, really bother us. And, the key fact is, I know that people were talking about individual areas. That first goal and the time that it comes absolutely turns the tie on its head. It doesn't give us any opportunity to build into the game. It doesn't give us any opportunity to flatten the crowd. It doesn't give us any opportunity to ask questions of the Wolves team. We immediately hand them the advantage, and therefore we immediately hand them the opportunity to press higher, to press with more energy. They've got something to play off, and they can play a really kind of fast break brand of football, which they have the players to do. So it's absolutely not the start you would have wanted, and I really have to say that for me the key to it is Vicario's punch. I always talk about the fact that I try not to talk too much technically about goalkeepers because I don't coach them, but this for me was a very simple one. It's not, I've seen a few people say that he should have caught the ball. I disagree with that, and this is why I shouldn't really listen to other people's stuff before doing mine. But I don't agree with that. There are a couple of Wolves players blocking. He gets to the ball and he gets to it comfortably. So for me, at that moment in time, that punch, if you're coming and you're punching and you're punching, because Vicario doesn't claim the ball and he's not great at doing it, then the key to it is height, distance, or width. And again, all of these are such basic techniques that, you could roll your eyes and say, well, for goodness sake, that's obvious. But it's the key to making a difference in that situation. He's not really fighting his way over or through to the extent that he needed to pad that ball down. So for me, the key is he's got to get 2 fists right up underneath that ball if he's sending it straight, and send it really, really high. He either sends it so high that his players have got time to get out to the edge of the box and defend the edge of the box, given the way that the team was set up, or it's got to clear the 18-yard box. It's got to go beyond the players that are hovering there, ready to pick up the ball and play a second phase. He doesn't do that. He pads it down. It's a soft strike, but it's good technique. Aït-Nouri managed to really get his hip up and out, and he gets his knee over the ball and he slams it into the floor, sends it back towards the second post. So it's, he makes a good contact with it. And then the miscommunication and the lack of fluidity is that Ben Davies, as he's coming on the line, actually then runs in a way that impedes Vicario. It's actually it makes it hard for Vicario, when realistically those two, one should be clearing out, one should be taking charge of the situation. I feel like if that had been done a bit better, again, Vicario's got more of a chance of getting a save and pushing that ball away. So really, really poor. But it all stems to the first mistake. You make a mistake with the first contact in the penalty area, very usually it leads to bad outcomes for you. Vicario then compounds it. And, this was the story of the game for him, really. There was a situation where Wolves are on the attack. I think Spence does really well. He recovers possession, just rolls it back to his goalkeeper. He's under no pressure whatsoever. You can see the player running at him. He's got good distance. He's got loads of time to take a touch. He can go either side with it. He doesn't. He decides for some reason he's going to try and pop it first time. And it was the wrong ball. If you actually look at it zoomed out, it would have been the wrong ball to play, because he's actually playing to a player who's got his back to play, and he's got a marker that is about to run past him to go to Vicario, but wouldn't have. He would have held his position and he'd have put the pressure on. It was the wrong option. He didn't think it through. And worst of all, he got it completely wrong. So he just pops it straight to the Wolves player, who plays it inside. And honestly, for me, if Strand Larsen was a better player, Wolves probably score 4 or 5. He really didn't have a great game. He should have scored from that. I think he miscues, or swings at it, misses, hits the ground, and then it bobbles off his knee as he's trying to swipe at it, and it just goes wide. We get very, very lucky not to go 2-0 down, and absolute mountain to climb, scoring 2 goals that early. It's what I also saw that I wanted to talk about was Postecoglou coming out after the game, and for me it's a communication issue, but he said, actually we played quite well, and I certainly know what he means when I watched the game back. So I had to wait for the game to drop to be able to watch it back, and I can see what he's saying. There were large blocks where we did quite well in possession, so you're away from home. And if you take the scoreline and the mistakes out of it, we were actually doing okay. It was actually quite easy to progress the ball. We did well at times in progressing the ball, but without being very good at converting that into chances up front. And so I can see what he's saying, but you don't come out of a game, or for me, you don't come out of a game where you've made so many errors and you've come out of it conceding 4 goals, another defeat, lots of problems, and say we've played quite well. I'm not sure it's the messaging, but I do kind of see what he may have been getting at. We were progressing the ball quite well. We had a long period where we had the football and we looked okay. We had some crossing opportunities. We had a Brennan cross and a Tell shot that was okay. We were working the ball quite well, but at times Maddison giving the ball away. Sarr didn't have a great game. He again is really struggling to put it together in terms of maintaining possession and giving the ball away. There was one nice moment kind of around the 20th minute, kind of speaking to the way that Tottenham were doing things, and it wasn't too bad. We had James Maddison then drop all the way deep into that slightly left half space quarterback, and whip a ball through 2 lines and, on the inside of the fullback, and then bending outwards to the marauding Jed Spence or Matisse Tell. I can't remember which one it was. But it was the kind of thing where a nice rotation into midfield. Maddison has then got loads and loads of time and space because the Wolves midfielders don't know whether to come with him or to sit, and then he plays a lovely ball. So, that was positive. We've seen that he's capable of doing that. We need to see more of that. We need to see more of that on the ball, more different options of how we progress the ball and we play. So we were doing okay. There were some positive bits and pieces that led to Bissouma having a shot. Nice play by Matisse Tell in that particular instance, and it kind of comes to Bissouma, who drives forward and has a good shot. It's well saved by Jose Sarr. And, you know, we were doing okay. We had a good long spell where we were probing, playing nice little balls in, dinked balls. We were changing things up and we were causing Wolves different problems. So from that perspective, it's like, okay, this isn't as bad as maybe we thought we were going to be. Can we nick a goal and can we then build in from there and see what we can do? There was a moment that was symptomatic at the end of the first half. There was a moment that was symptomatic of Tottenham Hotspur in this system and the way it plays. There was a moment where Wolves, who continually now, because Tottenham were playing a bit more, were knocking the ball long when they needed to from the back. Romero gets up against Strand Larsen. He heads the ball down into midfield. Bissouma's in the 6. He's tracked. He's on the right side. He's where he should be. And the ball comes into midfield. And we've got our 8 and our 10 miles away. Absolutely miles away. Not tracking, not doing that run. And you can see Bissouma turn around and yell at his midfielders who haven't come in. And the Wolves midfielders just step onto it and start to play. It's an absolutely classic example of where we're really struggling is, you know, that vacated midfield area. And if the 8 and the 10 are not willing to put the running in to get back into position, even if you do have a 6 standing there, he's completely isolated. And we win the first knockdown. We should then be challenging and trying to pick up the second ball as well. So, yeah, really indicative of some of the problems that we've got. Then we move into the kind of second half. And Wolves have got their tails up a little bit. There was a good bit of defending by Johnson to make a block, you know, high up the pitch. And then he whips. It cuts a little cross back, but it doesn't lead to anything. And then, you know, we come to the situation that in the first half, I've completely forgotten to go through the second goal. In the first half, I've seen a lot of people talking about what the fault was and how many mistakes were made for the second goal. The truth of the matter is Jed Spence is at fault. And Jed Spence had a very problematic game for me. He did not have a great game. He looked a bit leggy. He gave the ball away many, many times, and he is the one that takes first responsibility for the defending that leads to their second goal. So rewind. We're not in the second half yet. We're in the first half, and we're in a situation where the ball has been played out to Aït-Nouri. He's about to deliver a deep cross. Johnson gets back and gets a piece of it, and it loops up in the air. And you'll be looking at that. As that loops up in the air, that all of a sudden you've got Romero and Ben Davies. Davies got his hand up in the air and they're looking back and they can see 2 players on the wrong side of them. And they're thinking to themselves, well, what on earth are they doing in there? It's Jed Spence. He doesn't hold the line. So the system and the way that these players have been told to do it, and a lot of teams use this, is you use the 18-yard line. You stop on the 18-yard line and you wait for the delivery. The delivery is the moment you then get in. So as soon as the play is delivered, then you start making your movements into the box. Davies and Romero do that. Archie Gray is up higher and Jed Spence just doesn't. He's just asleep. He wanders in with his player and he plays everybody on side. So when that ball loops up in the air, you've got 2 players. I think it's Manetzi, who kind of doesn't quite get a header but shovels it forward. And then it compounds, Jed Spence positioning compounds on everything because Vicario again doesn't cover himself in glory. I feel like as that ball's coming across, Strand Larsen doesn't get a contact and Vicario could probably just grab that with his fingertips and hit the floor. He decides not to. He decides to try and push it. And because of Jed Spence's early run that plays everybody off, he finds himself much, much deeper, and then Vicario pushes it straight onto him and into the goal. So again, Jed Spence for me had a poor game. He was responsible for that second goal. We are now at the 2-0 phase and we go into the second half. And yeah, I was pretty disappointed. So again, when I was saying at the beginning, it was the players who are going to play on Thursday. You would argue that it would have been in with a shout of playing on Thursday. Potentially not now, having played this whole game. That we're going to look at Porro and Udogie for the game. But he would have been with a chance. He was not great in possession. He did some good things certainly throughout the game. He's an excellent player. But defensively, he got that one wrong. And Vicario is, he's had a poor game and he's obviously going to start on Thursday. So these are the issues that I'm talking about. We then managed to get a goal back, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, so we're in second half. We get a goal back 2-1. Can we build on that? It's a line-breaking pass by Romero. So he manages to get it through the thirds. Berrival's now on the pitch. He's nice and positive. He drives forward. He drives committing players. He commits to full back out towards him, lays it off to Brennan Johnson, and Brennan Johnson plays a lovely sweeping ball across the front of the defenders. It's arcing backwards. Semedo just gets him to, in his rush to get back goal side of Matisse Tell, he just gets his feet wrong. He tries to kind of back swipe at it, misses it, and it just hits Tell on the shins. I think then ricochets back off Semedo and goes into the back of the net. So, yeah, nicely done. Positive forward passes, breaking the lines and playing quickly. We get a reward from it. But this being Tottenham, we don't capitalise on it. So, we, after a little bit of, again, having possession and looking relatively comfortable right now, we managed to go and shoot ourselves in the foot. And who is it? It's Romero with yet another blunder to add to all the others he's had this season, and to add to the fact that it's another player who's going to start on Thursday night. And I guess the only positive you can say about this recurring theme from the game is they're getting them out the way, right? Get them out the way against Wolves when it doesn't matter. And please don't do this in the Europa League. But a really, really simple ball. Romero just loses concentration for a split second, and he lets it bounce across his path. And the Wolves player nicks in, drives forward, and then he's just rolling it across the face of goal for a simple tap in. It's an absolute disaster class in terms of a goal to concede. And you hand immediately the momentum back to Wolves. You hand them their cushion. So instead of it being 2-1 and they're nervous and it's tight and we're pushing, we hand them a 2-goal cushion. It's catastrophic, and we shouldn't be conceding this kind of goal. It doesn't matter how much football you've played. It doesn't matter how injured you've been. It doesn't matter what system you're playing. That kind of error shouldn't happen on a football pitch. And if it does happen, it happens once a season. But Romero has had a series of those across this year, and it's not good enough. And then we've got, a situation, I think, in the 75th minute where Wolves decide to try and gift us away back into it for a 3-2. Their centre-half just pops it straight to Richarlison, who's just come back he's on the pitch now, just pops it straight to Richarlison, but he looks super rusty, and it kind of just, the touch bounces off him and he loses possession, which is a shame. Because 3-2 in the 75th minute would have been a very nice advantage. And then we've got, we continue to play. It's a little bit more back and forth from there. Some good play with Decky coming onto the pitch. He's added a little bit. It's great to see him back. There was a moment where he plays there's a lovely bit of build up from the right hand side where Decky managed to absolutely split the midfield with a beautiful little pass in between the two Wolves midfielder. And it's just that calmness and that quality under pressure and that execution that is the difference. So he is absolutely huge for us to have back on the pitch. So delighted with him getting a few minutes. You could argue he probably starts. He might start on the right. If you're going to continue to play with Maddison, Berrival and Bentancur in the middle. And away from home, that might not be a bad shout in terms of solidity and securing the ball against a team that loves to counter-attack. So, yeah, we might see him, if he's fit enough, at least to play a half and maybe from the beginning, although that's not really the way Ange has been doing things. So we'll see what the lineup's going to be on Thursday. We then go up the other end and we manage to get ourselves a goal. It's a set-piece goal, which is nice to see. Ball swung over by Berrival. Ben Davies does well to keep it alive, puts it in a dangerous area. Romero does well. He does really well. He attacks it. And it's a really good save by Jose Sarr on to the crossbar, and it falls down, and we get the break where it falls to Richie and he nods it over the line. So delighted. Okay, with 3-2, again, we find ourselves in that moment where we could do something, we could apply some pressure, and we can use the psychology of the game where you're up by one goal and there's more pressure than being even in a game, right? So if you're sitting on something that you don't want to lose, there's more pressure than not having anything to lose, when a game is even. But no, Instead, Tottenham do Tottenham things. And sadly, it's Bergvall who is the player this time who makes a mistake. There's a little rotation in midfield. The ball's given to Bergvall. Bentancur moves forward. Bergvall makes the wrong choice. He decides to take his player on. He underestimates Cunha's, kind of commitment to tackling him. Maybe he thought Cunha would just let him go as a number 10. And these are the lessons that the young man will have to learn. You just cannot afford to do that. Cunha nicks it. He then manages to just toe poke it past Ben Davies, who goes to ground. And at that point, he's in on goal and he's got, both sides of the goal to aim at. And the keeper goes down to his right. Cunha's a great player. He just slots it down the left-hand side, down Becaria's left-hand side. And it's 4-2 and that's it. And it's game over. We really didn't look much like we were going to do anything after that. So that was the tale of the game. And, those bits and pieces that I was talking about that were of concern are that the mistakes coming from our starters who are going to play on Thursday. Were they just getting them out of the way? We'll find out when we play the game. And then the other side of it is we absolutely shouldn't be putting on a performance that's that bad, no matter how many changes we're making to the team. Evidently, the system that is being played is so high risk that it just doesn't forgive anybody who's not totally in rhythm and doesn't execute 100% or almost 100% of the time. And that is on the manager and the coaching staff. You either have to make it work for the personnel you've got over a period of time, and now that you've got your squad back and you've got time with them on the training ground, or you have to do something different, and we've not shown ourselves capable of doing that. So it's not a surprise that everybody is now calling for the manager's head. There's very few people still backing the manager, and even those that are probably just saying, well, you wouldn't change until the end of the season because there's no point. And that is a fairly damning situation to be in. So really disappointing. I called for a performance before the game. We didn't get it. And it's just super hard being a fan now and just watching that and suffering these defeats week upon week. The only bright spot that we've got left is the Europa League, and it will very quickly turn. If we get knocked out on Thursday, if we get knocked out in the semi-finals, it will very, very quickly turn because of how bad things have been this season. It could be a pretty tough watch for the next couple of months. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Sorry for kind of jumping about and missing a goal, and it's one of those games where you almost don't want to talk about any of it. But there we go. Those were my talking points. Let's look ahead to Thursday. Let's go to Germany. Let's put on a performance, or let's just get a result. Again, who cares? Play as bad as you like if you win, but let's get through to a semi-final, and then let's see what we can do from there. Have a great week, everyone. Come on, Tottenham.